Hello again, friends. Welcome back to Grow and Sew here on Seam of Consciousness, and welcome back to my craft room. If you're just seeing this for the first time, welcome. If we've met before, welcome back. Last time we chatted, I discussed some of the alterations that needed to be done to the green dress I was making, and we talked about some of the heavier feelings surrounding body image in making those alterations. Now that the dress is finished and has been modeled and worn to its intended event, we're going to shift our discussion, kind of a shorter discussion today to intentionality and mindfulness. And because it's close to Halloween, I've got everything Oogie Boogie Man related. So Oogie Boogie Man is going to help me tell the story and have our discussion today. But first, I encourage you to get comfortable during our time together. Let's get cozy and slow down a little bit. Let's release some tension in those shoulders by scrunching them up close to our ears and taking a big deep breath in. And exhale as you release them down. Oh, I felt the base of my neck pop. Let's roll the shoulders backwards and forwards. And let's take 3 big deep breaths. 1, to let go of the things we can't control. 1, to remember the things we can control. And 1, to bring us to the present moment outside of our own heads for a little while. There, much better. Let's see, as I mentioned, the green dress is done. Yay! Shameless plug, by the way. If you'd like to see some pictures from my literal bog witch photo shoot that I wore the dress for, follow me on Instagram at @IthieMax. That's at @ITHIE_MAX. It's where I post weekly project progress photos, as well as the photo shoots for every finished project. Modeling is one of my favorite parts of every project because I get to dress up and wear makeup, and I feel just really confident in the stuff that I make. And if I had enough energy and a place to go, that's how I dress in my photo shoots is how I would probably dress every day. Alas, I have neither, so it's really kind of a special treat whenever it happens. And I was thinking about those special occasions that made me think of today's topic. So the wedding that we attended, that I wore the dress to, it was kind of a weekend event. It was really fantastic. It was a lot of fun. We got to see friends and family that we hadn't seen for a long time, years in some cases. And one of the things that surprised me the most whenever I looked back on it was how little time I spent on my phone during the weekend. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly, but I've been trying to step away from my phone, using my phone and social media in general. I realized I have a bad habit of doom scrolling whenever I'm stressed. And if you're not familiar with the term doom scrolling, so like boredom scrolling is scrolling through an app like Instagram or Facebook or Reddit just for the sake of scrolling. Doom scrolling is that, but you end up seeing like negative post after negative post because these social media algorithms feed on engagement with angry and hateful and fear-inducing content. And because we as users determine what we want to see in our social media, we tend to develop our own echo chamber. And this is really how misinformation gets spread, because you're seeing this negative content, but you're seeing it with content that fuels your own confirmation biases. And so not only is this content not relieving your stress, but you're also not gaining any new information from it. You're not gaining any new perspectives, and it's just really not helpful in general. But this weekend that I wore the dress for was so much better because I was engaged in the physical present instead of the internet present. I wasn't concerned with what current events were happening that were, being spoken about so widely on the internet. And I've been working on this intentionality and mindfulness in my weekly yoga classes and my weekly writers group. Excuse me. Both are only a short amount of time during my week, maybe 3 to 4 hours a week. And so I really need to make the most of them while I'm there. And I found the best way to do that is to have an idea of exactly what I want to achieve while I'm there and know exactly what it is I'm going to work on, like knowing the steps of how to make that happen. And this is setting an intention. And setting intentions is seen in a number of practices, from yoga to meditation, like daily meditation, to prayer, to reading tarot cards and doing witchy magic. So the intention is the thing that you set out to do in your practice, whatever your practice is. And the mindfulness component comes in that you're being present with that intention for the duration of your practice. Everything goes back to the intention. So say, for example, your intention for the gentle yoga class, where it's mostly stretching and shavasana, is today I'm going to focus on being gentle with my body and showing it gratitude. I've had a rough week this week and I really need to unwind. Or say maybe you're setting an intention for your therapy session. For this hour, I'm going to celebrate the progress I've made with my mental health. And then whatever your intention is, you follow through with undivided attention. Now, you may think, what on earth does this exactly have to do with dressmaking and crafting? Well, a lot, actually. Much like my yoga class, I can only dedicate a small amount of time to crafting per week. And so that time really deserves my undivided attention. I need to know exactly what I'm going to do with the time that I have. I'm going to need to decide what I want to work on and what I want to achieve so that these projects actually get finished, especially if there's a deadline like a wedding. If I'm wearing a dress to a wedding. And so to kind of start getting into this habit, I deemed the craft room a no executive dysfunction zone. And this means prohibiting all devices that generate distractions and trigger my executive dysfunction. Now, being a neurodivergent person, what this executive dysfunction means for me is whenever I'm experiencing executive dysfunction, that means I have trouble getting started with something. So I will sit and scroll on my phone, and I'll have the voice in my head that says, I need to do my homework, or I need to start working, or I need to fold these dishes. Fold the dishes, oh my God. Do the dishes, fold the laundry. And I just can't get started. It's the starting that's the hardest part. And so my phone is one of those things that makes that executive dysfunction happen. So to combat that, I made a rule that phones or other devices are only allowed in the room for music, and the ringer has to be turned off, and it has to be away from where I'm operating and not within a visible distance. So for example, if I'm working at my machine at the table, my phone has to be face down at the other end of the room, or better yet, in the next room. So I'm kind of weaponizing my laziness here to make sure that I don't just go across the room and start, scrolling through my phone. And this has helped quite a bit so far, but I'm gonna bet I can turn this up a notch. And really, here's the thing about mindfulness practice. It's addictive. It's addictive. My brain during the week is so constantly buzzing with notifications, like Teams notifications and distractions, that I'm starting to feel this stronger and stronger pull to the silence. Like I know, I can feel it in my body whenever I miss my gentle yoga class that's mostly the meditation, because I feel more anxious and my body feels physically tighter. And so if I don't just feel like a pull to the silence, then, sometimes maybe just like a lower level of stimulation, something to help relieve that anxiety and that physical tension. And so I want to get to a point where my crafting isn't just calming whenever I get to do it. I want it to be something that's so meditative that I have to come back to it to really feel okay. Because that guarantees I do it, and that guarantees that, it'll hopefully make me feel better. And so far early in my practice, this is easiest to do with repetitive tasks like tearing out long seams. But I'm going to bet I could set an intention and keep it present within my mind the whole time I'm working, regardless of whatever the project is. So an example of this might be I'm going to focus on sewing very accurate 1/4 inch seams. And so this would require me to pay full attention to what I'm stitching. It would require me to sew slower, to really get that accuracy for every stitch. And if I look away a certain direction, I guarantee that my hand's gonna move with it. It's like looking away whenever you're driving. Your hand tends to pull whatever direction you're looking, or the opposite direction, to overcompensate for it. And so, I'm really kind of curious what'll happen to the quality of my work with these fewer distractions. If I'm paying more attention, will my stitches be more even? Will my machine be able to keep up with the slower pace? Maybe I'll make fewer mistakes. Maybe I'll be able to get things more correct on the first try because I'm paying more attention. Maybe I won't be able to sew as long because it'll take more mental energy to do things right the first time and to give it that undivided attention. Maybe I'll accidentally fall into a trance and summon a demon, and it also makes me think about, now that we're moving into winter and we're moving into fall, my body is naturally slowing down anyway. I can feel it physically slow down for the fall and winter months, because this is the time of year where we're supposed to be hibernating, and we're supposed to be slowing down. And so I think about our ancient ancestors who were knitters and weavers and who were doing hand quilting, who also did these activities indoors during the winter because their goal for the winter was to survive. That's it. It wasn't to meet these deliverables before Christmas. It wasn't to, do a bunch of traveling and exhaust yourself with your 7 days of PTO that you have left until spring arrives. It was to survive and to stay warm and to tell stories and to not get sick. And I think about, what was going through their heads whenever they were doing these, their sewing and their weaving and their quilting. What were they doing to keep from being bored? And my guess is part of the time they were heavily focused on whatever it was they were doing. And it makes me wonder if they set intentions for that focus, you know? And I'm going to bet if they did, then a lot of those intentions are probably similar to the ones that we set. So, for example, I bet one of their intentions was, today, I'm going to survive the day and get through the day in one piece. Or maybe it was, I'm going to focus on healing an injury. Or I'm going to focus on recovering from being sick. You know, because maybe this knitting helps me feel better mentally. You know, I'm going to bet that some of them even struggled with the changing of the seasons, just like we do, just like I do. And doing their craft helped them feel better. I'm going to bet a lot of the time the intention was to pour their love and effort into something tangible for their kids and their grandkids and everyone else to enjoy. It sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? And you know, like meditation and mindfulness are ancient practices. And I'm going to bet they've been around a while for a reason. So I ask you now, what kind of intentions will you set for this week? Let me know, and I will let you know how it goes next time. Until then, my friends, stay warm in this fall chill now that it's finally arrived. Happy Halloween from myself and Oogie Boogie Man. And know that I am proud of you and I can't wait to see you again.